Well, welcome everyone. My name is Carol Larson and I am the Senior Associate Registrar here at CSU Pueblo. I think I've met the majority of the folks here, but I know there's a few unfamiliar names to me. So thanks for joining today and looking at the debut of our banner self-service that will be launching here very soon on February 22nd. Before we start the demo, I did want to just say a few thank yous, especially to our banner team here at CSU Pueblo, which is Jennifer Torres, Brianna, and Lori, who's been working on our financial aid part of this. So thanks to them for getting us going here, and thanks to our partners at CSU Pueblo that have been instrumental in getting us up and running. And please remember that as we go through this today, we will be launching different parts of Banner at different times. And so hopefully you have already found that we have resources available to you in Blackboard. And we will, as we launch new parts of Banner, we will be putting those materials out there for you guys to be able to navigate. And when the student part becomes available, we will launch that in a different place for the students so that they're able to know how to register. All right, so today we're going to look at 3 different modules in the faculty advising part of Banner. And Brianna's going to kind of monitor some questions in the chat for us. So as we're going along, if you think of some questions you want to put in there, go ahead and just write in the chat, and then after each module, we'll stop and kind of go over those questions. And hopefully, if I don't have answers, some of the Banner team from either Fort Collins or Brianna may have all those answers for us. Let's see. So registration will begin for Fall 21 and forward in Banner. And so what you need to remember is that as we're working in advising, you will have 2 places. So summer will be in AIS and fall will be in Banner. So you can't just mark it in one place. If you have a student that wants to register for both, you would need to go to both places to mark them as advised. The other thing that you will want to know is as you're working in both systems for our continuing students, everything will pretty much look the same, although some of the history may not have come over yet for our continuing students. But for our new students, one of the new features that we have that is through the application is a preferred name. So you may see that a student in AIS later or in Banner has 2 different names. We're going to allow students in Banner to have a preferred name, which we don't have in AIS. So if you see anything unusual about a name, please just know that we are using preferred name in Banner, and there will be other applications on campus that will be able to benefit from that and use that preferred first name also. Okay, so I think I'm going to share my screen here now, and we will get started with the demonstration. So one of the things you need to know is it is not live yet in Pause, but you will log into your Pause, and from Pause there will be a tab in there that will take you to self-service Banner. So today I'm working in a pre-prod mode, and so I may have to log in and out a couple times, but our single sign-on will hopefully be working, and you should not have to be logging in and out. Once you're in Pause, you should be able to go in and stay in that module. So once you log in, it's going to take you to this landing page. And here there's some links that will take you to different places for different things. The first module that we're going to look at is how to mark a student advised. So for those of you that have an advising role, you are able to mark students as advised. And one thing that's different in Banner is any advisor can mark any student, regardless of if you are marked as their advisor or not. So you can mark a student as advised. So in that, you would come here and click on this, and I want to show you that there is another navigation tool that we'll be using in self-service Banner. So this little square up here at the top in the left, you click on it and it will open up and show you, well, should show you another navigation screen. It might have timed out for us here, but I'll go back to this page and we will click on Advising Student Profile. So I am going to have to log in and out, like I said. So once you get to that page and you go here to your advising profile page, you're going to, the first thing you would want to do is go to semester. It's already going to fill in fall of 21 for us. And we have different ways that we can search for our students. We can do it by email or by name, or if I'm an advisor and I know this student is in my list, I can click on View My Advising Listing. And when I click that as an advisor, it should bring up all the students that are assigned to me. And so this information was brought over from AIS. So when you go in here, it should be people that you previously have seen or advised. And when you come into this screen, you'll see a list here of your students. And the first one that you see here, you notice there's a little lock here, and that is a confidential lock. So this is a student that has a do not release. So in AIS, we call that a do not release. And it's a student who doesn't want their information shared with anyone on campus. So they don't want to be in a list. They don't want to be part of commencement, part of a dean's list of public information. So when you see a lock there, that means that the student's information should not be shared with other people. Over here in this box, we see the advisor holds. So this is the only student I have right now that still has a hold left. My other ones, it looks like their advising holds have been lifted. So I don't have to worry as much about them, but I can click on them. And when I click on them, it brings up the student profile page for your student. And here, I'm going to see that they did indeed register for classes. Here are the classes that they've registered for, and it tells me how many hours they're in. If they're on a wait list, it would not appear here, so you wouldn't know that they've tried to get on a wait list for something else. Again, this is the biographical information. Please remember that for students that are in AIS, it may not be totally up to date because we are in two systems. For our new students, it should have everything that we have on the student. So again, here it tells me that her information is confidential. And if I click on curriculum and courses, it just shows all these courses that she's registered for. It also shows me here that she's going to be BA in psychology. And if I click on this tab over here, again, it shows me the courses that she registered for, and if she had a history of grades and things, I could see those here. When I click on prior education and testing, this is going to show us the high school information. It also would show us if she had any test data here. So if I needed to know what her test scores were like so that I could put her in a course, that information would show here. For this student, if you click on her registration notices, it says she's in good standing, she can register. It also says something about a time ticket. So not only does a student have to be marked as advised, they also have to have a time. And so this is the same as it was in AIS. When a student is a senior, they have priority over other students to register first. So that's what the time ticket indicates here. And over here on hold, This is where it would display if she had other holds, if there was a financial hold, and there would be a phone number that she could call and get that taken care of so that she's able to register for class. So the key thing is not only are you going to mark them as advised, but you're also going to tell them if they have other things that may be holding them back. So if the time ticket says this date, even though you've marked them off as advised, if the date isn't coinciding, then they wouldn't be able to register until that date. Okay, so I'm going to go back and see if it'll let me. Oh, here's the navigation screen again. It's showing up. So if I want to go back to my advising list, I can click back here. I can search again on my advisees list. So again, these students all have some information that I want to share with you, so I put them in here. You'll see I put preferred first name so that you knew that this student actually has their preferred name, so it may not be their legal name. On this one, consent for release, when I click on her, it shows that she has some holds here. And these are actually pseudo holds. We in Banner don't have a place to store if they have something on a parent or a guardian that we're allowed to release information to. So we'll put these in here, but they're not actually stopping the student from registration. It's just telling you that this person is able to know about this information, academic information on the student. So they would have to tell you that they're the father and his name's Joseph. And in addition, we will be putting a PIN number in here. So there'll be a 5-digit PIN number that they would need to release to you so that you can tell them the information they're wanting to know about their student. All right, I'm going to go back to my list here so we can search by name so you can see how that functions. So if I decided I wanted to search by name instead of my advisee list, this is a student that can't get a hold of their advisor and they want me to mark them off. So if I type in their name or their last name, it starts to search and it'll start to bring up people. So then I can select on who I want and then just select on that student. It brings them down here. And down below, I just click on View on Profile, and then it'll bring that student up for me again. And then I can mark them off as advised. This one's already been marked off, but I'm going to go back to my other list to show you how to mark them off. Okay. So I'm coming back to my student that I know needs to have his hold lifted. So I'm going over here, and again, I can look at their information in here to see what they have. If I'm advising them, this student actually does have some testing information. So maybe this will help me in my advising for continuing students. You can always look in AIS again. You may want to be in both systems. Please remember that. And then on the hold, so it tells me he has an advising hold. And when I click on this, and I click this button right here, all I do right now is click release, and then that releases the advising hold. It's going to ask me if I want to put a message in here. I can. I don't have to because I know many of you use Starfish for your notes, but if you wanted to put a message in here that you on 216, and I'll hit OK. And then you'll see that the hold was released, and you also see that now there's a note on the student. So if I click on the note, and it says who released it, and that there's a comment, and then you can look at the comment. So this is, that's as simple, it's very simple to release those holds. And again, it doesn't have to be a student in your advising profile. You can find somebody that comes into your office and needs help, and you can mark them off by searching for their name. Okay, I think we'll stop there and see if we have any questions on releasing advising holds. And then we'll go over those and then move on to the next part of self-service banner.
Carol, this is Jeff Paquette.
Hi, Jeff.
So, not that I expect to have too many issues with this, but since any advisor can click off any student, are we going to be putting out any messaging on the etiquette of all of this, or is there sort of a preference? You know, if you're going to advise somebody outside of your normal list, you know, are we asking people to send a notification via email or just use the note system within Banner, or has that really been discussed much?
I don't think it's really been discussed much. I know we did talk about those majors that are, more protected, nursing and education. And so I don't know if, as an advising team, you guys want to put some protocol together, and maybe John can help spearhead that with you guys so that you have a policy or procedures of how you want to do that together as a team.
Carol, can I jump in really quick?
Yeah, sure.
So Jeff, that's a great question. And the thought is that nobody should really be advising students who are not within their department. Unfortunately, Banner has no way to restrict it at that level the way that AIS does. And so somebody from, let's say, the English department, they shouldn't be advising somebody from AIM. But if somebody from AIM can't get a hold of their advisor, they should be contacting CAE to get advised. And so there is a way for us to, in Banner, there is a kind of tracking where we can see who removed that advising hold from the student's record. And so if you do have concern of somebody outside of your department advising your students, we can see who actually did lift that restriction for your student.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's good.
But I think you do have a good point.
To permits as well. Are we going to have the same ability to lock individual courses, kind of like we did with permits, or is that going to be different?
So Carol will be showing the permit side of things, but in a little bit. But just a little note on that: only instructors can put permits or put what Banner calls overrides for the courses that they are the primary instructor for. The department chairs, deans, and admins, there is fine-grained access that it will be set up. So if a department chair needs to put in an override for, like in your case, something that has an ED prefix, you would be able to do that. So somebody from the nursing department would not be able to put in permits for education courses.
Perfect.
Were there other questions out there? Did you have any in the chat, Brianna?
It looks like Emma. Oh, sorry.
This is Shauna Hannenberg, and I have more of a comment from what Jeff was talking about. And the question that Emma Mitchell had in the chat kind of relates to this. If a student comes to us and they're not in our department, Emma's question is, where can we look up who their primary advisor is? I think that will come in handy, as well as being able to put notes in with what the CAE, with the success coaches. In our department, we're getting used to sharing the advising duties with them, and so being able to track what they've done with students, and if a student comes to us and they're unclear, being able to look that up in here is going to be helpful.
So Shauna, I brought up the screen that will show you when you go to the profile page for a student, and it does list all the advisors that would be attached to a student here. So
Okay.
you would know, these are the people that most likely have seen this student before, or may have more information on them. But, if you wanted to give a courtesy email to them to say, hey, I just marked off your student or something, again, you guys can figure out a process of how you would want to do that. But it will, under the student profile page, list anybody that's attached to the student here.
Carol, when you place a note on a student's account, who can see that note?
The student and the advisor can both see the note and an advisor coming in. So, yeah, so you don't want to put something that you don't want the student to see. Are we good? Any other questions in the chat? Move on to the next module.
I have a question. This is Mary Sandoval.
Uh-huh.
And under the advisors there, is that the last person who fits that profile for advisor, primary? That would be the last person who saw the person, because it wouldn't be a list of anybody, right?
The advising team has created different roles for advisors. Some are mentors, some are success coaches, some are faculty mentors. So there are different categories that they are put in. So it's not necessarily the last person that saw them. The primary one, I think, has probably seen them more or maybe initially started with them, and so their name is listed as the primary advisor. But we can add, I think John's area will be adding, if we wanted to add additional advisors to a student, that could be done by that team.
And I do want to add on that, any student who is a new student, a readmit student, or a transfer student, there is a process that we have running in production to automatically assign their academic success coaches 1 and or 2. So based on John, myself, and Helen, we determined the logic of what that should be. So on some students, you may see that they have an academic success coach 1 and 2, but the advisors for continuing students are showing who was their last primary advisor in AIS for spring of 2021.
Okay, so we're going to go back here, and we're going to work next on our override permit process. So again, as Brianna said earlier, the only one that can do this from self-service banner would be the actual instructor for the class. So when we say department chairs and admins will have access, that will not be through self-service. That will be through the banner application, where they go into a different screen and they can do override. So I'm going to click on registration overrides here. And I don't honestly know if this session I don't think these pop-ups will happen, because we're using Fort Collins and Pueblo. This is just telling me that I'm part of Pueblo, which is the right place to be. Okay, so when I come in here, the first thing that's going to ask me is, what term am I trying to create a permit for? So I'm going to go in the fall term. And just like we searched earlier, I can search by their ID number, or I can search by their name. So for this one, I'm going to search by name. And when I click on that, it brings up a list down below. And so I had 2 students that had the name last name. So when I pull them up on here, I can figure out which one it is that I want to create the permit for. So I'm going to click on this student. And when I come down to the bottom, it says there's no current overrides for the selected term. So I haven't given the student any permits. It's showing me the classes that they're already enrolled in. And so I'm going to click on the course that I want to give them an override for. And so there's different kinds of permits that you can give. And we need to be careful with what kind of permission we're giving. Again, you have to be the instructor to be able to give the permit from the screen. But again, you should be careful. So I'm going to put this student in EPER 495. So this is one that is restricted, saying you have to have instructor's permission to be in my class, right? So a lot of the research classes, there's many classes that are set up this way. So I click on the course, and then I have to tell it what kind of override am I using. So for this, I'm doing an instructor override because I want to let this student into my class because I've said he is a major in the PER department, and I'm going to let him in. So I click on that, and I hit submit, and it tells me up here the save was successful. And so now I know that it's been added to the student part, and then the student can go and register for the class. So the student would be able to just go now in to 495, add it without any problem. I'm going to go back, and we're going to do a different one. See, it tells me it wants the term first. So I found a couple of different DOEs that want a permit. So the student came in, and they're actually wanting to get into one of your classes, but it's saying this one I already gave a permit for EPER on this student. But maybe now they want to be in one of my other classes. So maybe they want to be in my English class, but for this student, they don't have the correct test scores for this semester. Or I can't, maybe they've taken a class, but their test scores isn't showing up. So I know the student's okay. I looked at their profile page. They're good. So I'm going to give them a prerequisite override so they can get into my English class. And so I hit submit here, and now it's saved again successfully. So this student would be able to register for my English class that was blocking them previously because there was a prerequisite. So no one, it uses the word prerequisite, that sometimes that's test scores, that it's not necessarily another course, that it could be that their test scores weren't high enough. And for the first semester, please remember, we are not enforcing co-requisites, and we are not enforcing all prerequisites. So the ones that we're trying to monitor are English and math, to make sure that we don't have students getting into things that they shouldn't be in. So our English and math teachers may be having to do some of this, especially when it comes to transfer students that maybe their scores aren't in here yet. But primarily, most information should be in on a student, so you shouldn't have to do that too often. While I'm in here, I'm going to show you that there are some other fields here. So Extended Studies will be using this for their courses. And as you look at course searches, you will see some things that say ES has the section number, and those are Extended Studies courses, and they are the ones that would do those overrides. Again, you wouldn't be able to do it for every course. It would only be if you were one of their instructors. The registrar's office is only for us please do not use that, and we will be pulling reports, and if people are using that, you may not be able to do overrides at all anymore because we don't want you giving permission for everything. A time conflict is when a student maybe is in a class and it overlaps a few minutes or a few hours with something, but perhaps you know that your class really isn't going to meet some of those times, and so it's not an issue, and you could give them a time conflict override. But that's something you would want to discuss with the student to make sure that they're not missing too much of your class. So those are the override permits that can be done. Again, extended studies, you really shouldn't be touching that. That's them. Instructor would be used, prerequisite would be used, and time conflict, not registrar and not extended studies. So if we went into a student, I'm going to go back here. We're going to look again for a student. I'll tell you if you missed something. So you click on the term. If it doesn't bring up who you're looking for, you can try searching again. This is only bringing up one student. So I can click on her. And for this student, it says that there's no overrides and no schedule for the term. So she hasn't done any registrations yet. You are able to put overrides in for a student prior to them registering. Well, you would have to do it prior to their registering, but if they even don't have their holds released yet, you can still go ahead and put these in ahead of time so that when registration opens up for them, they're able to register for your class. And again, it'll tell you saved successfully. All right, so why don't we stop there and see if there's any questions about how to do an override.
I think I tried to catch everybody's questions in the chat.
Okay.
If I'd missed anybody's, please let me know.
I just want to add a note about the override. This is Nicole Kirby from the registrar's office. So overrides are going to be super important to you guys. What we're seeing for the population of first-time transfer students, we are still integrating the system that would bring in their placement scores, or as Banner calls them, their prerequisite courses. You will need to go ahead and lift those advising holds on them so students can get into those desired courses. We're expecting this to be fixed with minimal impact to you guys, but just going forward, if you happen to deal with that population, Carol's tools of lifting those holds and putting them in will be super helpful.
Thank you for that point, Nicole. And I want to add that for fall of 2021, the only prerequisites that will be in place are the same ones that were in place in AIS already. So if, for example, math courses, there are specific test scores or ACT, SAT placement, AccuPlacer, or courses that will be in place for students.
So it looks like there's any other questions. Should we just move on? Hopefully that's good. Hopefully the navigation seems easy to you guys. I hope it does. Okay, so the last module we're going to look at is your class list and wait list. And again, that's on that main page, or you can use the navigation like I'm using it right now. So when you come to this page for your class list, it's going to list every course that's assigned to you and tell you information. And if you want to change your bar here, you can kind of get rid of things if you don't like them, move them out of the way so that you have what's important to you. One thing that we didn't talk about yet is CRN. So this is the course number. We called this the class number previously, I think, in AIS. So we will be using the term CRN. I don't know if it stands for course registration number, but that is the unique identifier for a section of a course. So the CRN number is there. The enrollment count, so this tells me how many people are actually in my class and the date of the term and the term. So if I click on this over here on the left-hand side, it's going to bring up my first course, which is the EPER 495. And it tells me that I have a maximum of 16 people that can enroll in my class. I have one enrolled right now, so I have 15 spots open. And then there would be a wait list of 10 people that could get into my class. And when I scroll down, it'll show me my list of students who actually have registered for my class. So that tells me. And if I had a wait list here, it would be right here. But we'll go back to one that actually does have a wait list so you can see what that looks like. So let me go up here and I can search for my other classes so I don't have to go in and out. I can just pull up my other courses that I have. And for this course, it says that I have a maximum enrollment of 2, and I did that for the wait list. And then I have 2 remaining. So that probably means that I have released spots to somebody that was on the wait list. So I had a wait list of 10 people. I have 4 on the wait list, and I have 6 remaining. So there's 2 people here who have been on my wait list that I've sent a notification to that have not yet registered. So when a student goes and adds themselves to a wait list, if a spot opens up, so somebody dropped out of your class, they will get a email notification, and they have 48 hours to register for the course. And if they miss that time period, they have to get back on the wait list. So here are the students that are on my wait list, and it shows these 2 have a notification expiration. So that means that we've sent a notice to them already to say, if you don't register by this day, you're going to be dropped off the list. And then these other 2 are the positions that are waiting to get into my class. So that shows you the wait list. So this one doesn't actually have anybody in because, again, somebody was in here and dropped. And so now the people from the wait list are being notified. Okay, so for this class, I had a max of 18. I just have 2 enrolled here, and it shows me their information. I think once we're in, you should be able to access being able to email your students here on the list, so you can do a select all and do an email. Again, I'm in production, so it's not linked to email, so hopefully this will function. If not, I think you guys do have access through Starfish to do that, or Blackboard. I'm not sure, but I think there is. But hopefully this will be up and running soon if it isn't right now. So I'm going to go to my next class, which was music. And here I had a bigger list of students that had registered. And I had to give permits to, and they got all registered. And then I want to have my class list. And so I want to get a printout of that. So I can either print it here or I can click export. And when I do that and click export, it's going to bring up an Excel document. And in that document, I can share it with my dean who wants to know how many students I have in my class, or anybody else in my department that we were trying to look at. So it just pulls up an Excel document for you to show you. Is it sharing that or no? Can you see the Excel document?
We can
No.
just see the class
Yeah.
list.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can. Okay, here it is. So it brings up your document of your students that were enrolled. So you have their information, their PIDs. It tells you this is a variable credit class, so it tells you the credit hours for that student. And the one thing that is different on our variable credit courses is a student has a choice now. We don't have like 5 sections, 1 through 5 of a course. They choose the one section, and then they tell us if it's for 1 credit, if it's for 2 credits, if it's for 3. So they have the ability to edit that and tell how many credit hours they want to take the course for. Okay, were there questions about that?
This is Mary Sandoval. I noticed on the class roster, it doesn't say what room number. Is that going to be visible to the faculty member to know what room and building they're in?
Let's go back here and see if it shows on there. I don't think it's on their list, but let's see if it's in another spot. Brianna, are you familiar, or maybe somebody from Fort Collins can tell us? Maybe it's under their detail schedule.
Hey, Carol. Chris Sang here. I'm pretty sure it's on the class schedule. If I understood the question correctly, the classroom.
Yes.
Yeah. I would guess it's on the class schedule. And if it's not showing, it's probably something that's not turned on, but we could take that and follow up too.
Yeah. Under this, I would think it would show up here too, Mary, which is the faculty detail schedule, because it is showing how their instructional method. And this particular class may not have a classroom assigned to it yet, so maybe it's not showing up here, but I would think it would display here also.
Carol, will you show your screen again?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Let me go back to that so you can see where I grabbed that from. So they have there's a faculty week at a glance so they can see their schedule. If they don't have an assigned time, it wouldn't show up. But here they show, and it is showing where they're teaching for this particular class. So this week at a glance shows it from that view. And then the detail schedule gives more information about how they're instructing the course. And I would think if there was a classroom assigned, it would show up here. This particular one wouldn't have a classroom assigned since it's an internship, but it should show up on this detail schedule also. Are there other questions? I think, go back here. Wanted to make sure for our advisors, they're aware if somebody's assigned to them, they should be listed here, and that's an easy shortcut to them. And to see their profile page again, you just click on the name of the student you're looking for, and then you can see all the registration. A student must have a time ticket or a time assigned for registration, and their hold needs to be released. So if they're having issues, double check that they have a time assigned and double check that their hold is released. Amy, can you think of anything that I've forgotten to mention here?
I think you've covered a lot. Thank you, Carol. I would just mention again, especially for those of you who joined a little bit later, we'll have resources available in Blackboard. The link is, that Blackboard link is available on the Banner website, which is csupueblo.edu/banner. So everything that Carol has gone over today there will be training how-tos step-by-step listed in Blackboard for you. And there is just a question about if advisors will be able to register students, Carol?
No, they cannot. And in fact, one of the new things that is happening in registration is for our Colorado resident students, they first have to acknowledge cost before they can register. And not for this semester, I don't think, but the following semester there will be some kind of a waiver saying once they register for classes, they understand that they're liable for paying for those courses. And so, no, they cannot register themselves. I mean, they can register themselves. You cannot register them. The student needs to do it themselves. And hopefully they'll find it very easy to register themselves. And you would just be in charge of telling them what they should be registering for. There is, like I said, we're not rolling out everything yet, but there is a planning mechanism within the advising part too, where you can put courses that you think the students should register for and create different plans for them so that you can work with them on what they should be taking. And then when they go to registration, after they've left their appointment with you, they know these are the classes I should be taking. But that's not open yet. That will be.
Carol, how will students know how to register for classes within Banner?
So students will actually get a little video, just like we have in Blackboard, that will help them know how to navigate. And I know that we're relying heavily on advisors to help them through the process because you're going to be marking them as advised. So on the CSU Pueblo webpage, let me see if I can pull it up here. I'll show you where it will be. Under current students, let me share my screen here. Well, that's not what I wanted to share.
And while she's bringing that up, we'll be sharing the video with the PAC Center or CAE. And so Jean and Sarah, if you would like us to send that link to you directly so that you can share it with students in HSB, we're happy to do that. So as Carol will show, it's not only going to be available on the website and sent to students, we're also giving it to advisors who are interested in sharing the information directly with students.
That'd be very helpful, Amy. Thank you.
So if they go under the current student tab, we've been talking to Anna about where this will be, but hopefully it'll be one of these right here at the top for them. It'll be a little video tutorial, and down further we'll probably have the PDF of it in here somewhere so that they can grab the PDF if they don't want to do the video. That helps navigate through how to register for classes. So again, it's under the current student tab. That's where you will house the video instructions for them.
Carol, could you talk about when the resources will be available in Blackboard for advisors?
Yeah, so the Blackboard piece is already up and running. If you haven't gone in, I hope you will. We have the 3 modules that we went over today, and they have the videos as well as PDFs that will help you in case you forget when you start logging in. On the 22nd is when this will open up, so you can start marking students as advised. So on that day, you're able to go ahead and start marking them off. Student registration won't begin until March 8th. So again, you can give permits prior to your class opening if they know that they're going to need one, or if you know they're going to need one, you could do it ahead of time. But there isn't a rush, especially if they have the first time to get to register.
Carol, there was a question about reports and how to see which students are advised and which students are not advised.
So I don't know. That's probably a Brianna question on the report side for each individual advisor. I know how you can see, I showed you that, how you can see your own students that are attached underneath you. But as far as reports, I don't know.
I can answer that one too.
Okay.
We're working on building out reports, and so we'll have more information on that coming soon. Whereas in AIS, a lot of the reports were already there. We're working on building those now. So it'll be important to use, in the meantime, the resources that Carol showed about how to see which students are advised and not advised. And then as we have reports built, we'll definitely notify departments about that. Brianna, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that's it. There was a question regarding if anybody has additional questions after this session. You are more than welcome to email me, send those to me, and then I can get them to, if I don't know the answer, I can direct you in the right direction.
We will be adding questions to Blackboard, a Q&A thing in there for you as they come up, so that that resource is there for you also. Well, thank you, everyone, and hopefully it's as easy as it looks. I think it is pretty easy to navigate.